Ladies and gentlemen, please do take your seats. It's really time to start. It's 3:10. I'm opening the afternoon session to continue our discussion on island of St. Louis, Senegal, to remind you all. And as this discussion is concerned, the first wishing to take the floor is a distinguished delegation of Kuwait. I wonder, Madam, if I could kindly ask you to take the floor. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. We commend the State Party of Senegal on the progress made, and we agree with the amendments proposed by Zimbabwe and Burkina Faso regarding paragraph 6. We feel that the original text of paragraph 6 could trigger hesitation and discouragement for future restoration plans, and could affect negatively the needed mobilization, as the 3-year rehabilitation program expected to reach completion by 2020 is planned to resolve these issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Portugal. Ambassador, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Je ne vais pas répéter tous les arguments qui ont été déjà exprimés et qui vont dans le sens de l'amendement de la décision proposée par le Burkina Faso. Nous croyons qu'une telle décision encouragera davantage le Sénégal à poursuivre le travail déjà accompli, un travail que nous saluons. Mais ces choses prennent du temps, nous le savons bien. Je suis très confiant que le Sénégal continuera à œuvrer d'une façon conséquente en coopération avec le centre et les organes consultatifs pour récupérer Saint-Louis d'une façon consistante avec les obligations qu'il a assumées. Je vous remercie.
Merci. Thank you. And now Philippines. The floor is yours, Excellency.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Philippines thanks the State Party for providing further information on the state of conservation of the property and appreciates the steps that they have taken to ensure that the management plan is carried out with the stakeholder coordination and in conformity with regulatory guidelines and advisory body recommendations. We also note that the State Party's increased efforts to monitor ground conservation through the installment of on-site police unit and the creation of a special committee to issue work permits in the core and buffer zones. The Philippines commends the involvement of local communities and private partners in the conservation property. Since significant progress has been documented of the State Party taking concrete action to address threats to the property, and that the committee shall continue its review of various concerns, as reflected in the draft decision, we will support the amendments being presented on this property. We encourage the State Party to ensure that the site's OUV is intact, addressing previous factors affecting the property and facilitating coordination in the management and governance of the property. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ambassador. Now, Azerbaijan. Excellency, you could kindly the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Azerbaijan also welcomes the efforts undertaken by Senegal in the implementation of the 40th session of the World Heritage Committee and the recommendations of this session. And we also commend the strong mobilization of local communities in the management of the property and the involvement of the private sector actors who already set up the fund to support the protection of the heritage. Despite these degradations of some historical monuments, we see the commitment, very strong commitment of the Senegal for rehabilitation, and the State Party suggests also the special program of rehabilitation for 3 years. So, as I previously mentioned in my earlier interventions, it is important to rather encourage than discourage the State Party, and in this regard, my country supports the amendment put forward by Burkina Faso. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Now the floor goes to the United Republic of Tanzania. Tanzania, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Tanzania also joins Burkina Faso and the other delegates who had supported the proposal, which has been put up by Burkina Faso. Tanzania delegation comments and welcomes all the effort that has been taken to date to deal with the problems that are affecting the property. But also on a different note, the delegation of Tanzania, from a technical point of view, commends the advisory body for the recommendations on the way forward in the decision, para 5. This has been the expectation of the Tanzania delegation that when you think a site is in danger, we should clearly say what are steps to be done. In this decision, para 5, A to D, you can clearly see, you cannot miss. It's very clearly elaborated, and this is the way Tanzania delegation would want to see things very clearly so that we are able now to squarely come up with an action plan to sort out those issues. We, once again, wanted to support the Burkina Faso proposal.
Thank you. Now Finland. Finland has the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Also, Finland would like to commend the State Party on the recommendation implemented concerning the 2014 reactive monitoring mission and the improvement in the coordination of the stakeholders compared to 2014. In addition, the fact that the Tourism Development Programme has been able to raise strong support for rehabilitation from the private sector is an important step forward. Nevertheless, the property remains vulnerable. Finland urged the State Party to continue its effort in improving the management and governance of the property. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The Republic of Korea. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Republic of Korea would like to commend the effort of the State Party and welcome the involvement of the civil society and local communities in conservation. We support the positive amendment by Burkina Faso to give the State Party room to make progress. Thank you.
Thank you. It is, to my understanding, the end of the list of distinguished State Parties committee members. So it's time to ask kindly the State Party to take the floor if it is needed. Senegal, the floor is yours.
Merci, Monsieur le Président, de nous avoir donné la parole. Au nom de la délégation sénégalaise, nous félicitons la Pologne pour la parfaite organisation de cette session et l'accueil chaleureux dans cette magnifique ville de Cracovie. Mesdames et Messieurs, distingués membres du comité, je voudrais d'abord témoigner très sincèrement de notre excellente collaboration avec le Centre du patrimoine mondial qui nous accompagne dans toutes nos initiatives à Saint-Louis comme à Gorée. La récente mission de suivi réactif est une parfaite illustration. Nous félicitons les experts de cette mission pour la qualité de leur rapport, à la fois exhaustif, critique et porteur de recommandations pertinentes et utiles qui nous servent déjà de feuille de route. D'ailleurs, je voudrais informer le Centre du patrimoine mondial et l'ICOMOS que l'une de leurs recommandations fortes de recadrage et de relance du programme de développement touristique est en train de prendre une solution. Parce que depuis hier et jusqu'à demain, il y a une réunion de concertation à Saint-Louis sur cette question pour recadrer ce projet. Et ça, c'est une des victoires ou alors un des effets positifs de cette mission de suivi réactif. Tout cela pour dire que nous n'avons pas de grosses divergences avec l'ICOMOS ni avec le Centre du patrimoine mondial. Notre unique préoccupation est que l'État partie puisse être entendu et qu'on fasse confiance à l'État partie dans son engagement et sa détermination à mettre en œuvre toutes les recommandations qui ont été déjà avancées dans le rapport et également les recommandations que ce comité prendra. L'État partie s'engage dans ce cadre, à mobiliser et à continuer de mobiliser les communautés et la société civile, notamment les privés, pour relever d'abord les questions les plus urgentes, la sécurisation des bâtiments en ruine et ces bâtiments pour éviter effectivement qu'ils tombent en attendant que le programme que nous avons mis en place puisse prendre route à partir de la fin de cette année-ci 2017 pour 3 ans. L'État partie remercie tous les délégués qui nous ont appuyés et qui ont soutenu cet amendement et voudrais leur assurer que le Sénégal a pris cette détermination, a pris cet engagement et nous ferons en sorte que les prochaines sessions, qu'on ne revienne pas sur Saint-Louis pour demander qu'est-ce qui a été fait, qu'est-ce qui n'a pas été fait. Le Sénégal, enfin, demande au comité d'encourager cette initiative privée inédite qui se passe au Sénégal. Que des privés acceptent de participer avec nous à la sauvegarde du patrimoine, il ne faut pas les décourager, il faut qu'on les encadre, qu'on les accompagne avec la communauté internationale pour qu'on puisse réussir à Saint-Louis un exemple de bonne pratique dans le partenariat public-privé pour la sauvegarde du patrimoine à Saint-Louis. Je vais terminer par remercier une fois de plus tous les délégués qui nous ont soutenus et remercier également la Pologne et surtout Monsieur le Président qui a eu l'aimabilité de nous donner la parole. Je vous remercie.
Merci. Thank you very much. Which means that the floor goes now to ICOMOS. Madam, would you like to comment on our discussion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just very briefly, I would like to say that we appreciate the comments of the Honourable Delegate from Tanzania on the idea of setting out clearly remedial measures when a site has difficulties, it has potential threats, so it's very clear what has to be achieved to overcome those threats. And I think he made the same remarks over Lamu, a previous site we discussed. We cannot call these things corrective measures because that phrase is used for danger listing, but lists of remedial measures clearly set out as something ICOMOS would strongly support. Thank you.
Thank you. I do not see any more comments, which means that it's time to invite you to adopt the draft decision 41.7b.71 concerning this property. Mr. the Rapporteur, have you received any amendments on the draft decision proposed?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, we have received a proposal of amendment from distinguished delegates of Burkina Faso and Zimbabwe. We have in front of us a draft decision of 6 paragraphs. The proposal is to amend the last paragraph, paragraph 6, by just deleting the last part and changing the date. So I'll read the paragraph 6. Requests the state party to submit to the World Heritage Center by February 2019 an up-to-date report on the state of conservation of the property and the implementation of the above for the examination by the World Heritage Committee at its 33rd session in 2019. So this is the amendment, but we have an issue here, Mr. President, of debt, and I think Madam Director, she wanted to clarify it.
The floor goes to Madam.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think for the date, it would be in this case for 1st December 2018, for the committee in July 2019. Thank you.
Thank you. So if I do not see any more interventions, and I see none, let's go back to the beginning. Please. I understand that the first paragraphs are easy. Paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, are adopted. And para 6. Angola wishes to take the floor. Angola.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Donc, après avoir écouté l'État partie et les autres délégations, donc nous reconnaissons les efforts qui sont faits par l'État partie et l'ouverture de coopération avec les organes consultatifs et les centres. Donc l'Angola appuie le point 6 tel qu'amendé. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Angola. So if so, this para 6 is adopted as amended. And now I declare decision 41.7b.71 adopted as amended. I would like to invite Mr. Edmond Mukala to read the list of the cultural properties inscribed on the World Heritage List and located in the Africa region, for which the reports are proposed for adoption without discussion. Mr. Mukala, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The list of cultural properties inscribed on the World Heritage List and located in the African region, for which the reports are proposed for adoption without discussions, is the Royal Palace of Abomey in Benin, the historic town of Grand-Bassam, Côte d'Ivoire, the Osun-Osogbo Sacred Grove in Nigeria, and the fossil hominid site of South Africa in South Africa. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. If there is no objection from the committee on those state of conservation reports, just read out. I declare the decisions adopted. Thank you very much, Mr. Mukala. We are leaving Africa, and now it's time for the Arab states. And the first point now is Memphis and its necropolis, which is Egypt, number 78. I would like to give the floor to the delegation of the Tunisia to present to the committee the reason why it requested to open the state of conservation report on Memphis. Tunisia, the floor is yours.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. En fait, l'amendement proposé par la Tunisie s'appuie sur l'accord entre l'État partie, l'ICOMOS et le centre au sujet de la construction du tunnel pour contourner le problème du trafic devenu de plus en plus intense autour du monument. À ce sujet, la Tunisie ne peut que se féliciter de la transparence, de l'efficacité et de la bonne disposition de l'ICOMOS pour superviser techniquement les travaux. Et l'État partie souhaiterait commencer les travaux dès à présent, en total accord avec les organisations consultatives. Merci.
Thank you. So, thank you very much for this presentation. I would like to invite Mrs. Nada Al-Hassan and later on ICOMOS to respond to this very comment. Madam Al-Hassan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The state of conservation of Memphis and its necropolis, the pyramid fields from Giza to Dashur in Egypt, was examined at the 40th session of the World Heritage Committee in Istanbul and addressed, in addition to conservation and management issues, a project proposed by the state party to build a tunnel that extends 5 kilometers across the whole width of the property at the north of the Giza Pyramids Plateau, as agreed in principle at the 40th session of the committee in Istanbul. In this regard, the state party has been seeking a viable traffic solution to protect the property while addressing the growing development pressures in the Cairo megalopolis. Since the inception of this project almost 2 years ago, the state party has engaged with the advisory bodies and with the World Heritage Center in regular technical exchanges. An ICOMOS advisory mission, a mission by the director of the World Heritage Center, and the joint World Heritage Center ICOMOS advisory mission have all been carried out, in addition to numerous meetings. Throughout the process, the state party has steadily sought to follow the requirements of the World Heritage Convention and its operational guidelines, and the ICOMOS recommendations as thoroughly as possible. The state party has advanced considerably lately in addressing the technical requirements recommended by ICOMOS and is keen to start the construction work as soon as a heritage impact assessment has been completed to the satisfaction of the advisory bodies, possibly before the next World Heritage Committee session. In this regard, the request by Tunisia to open this item for this discussion, which is in front of you, aims at providing the committee with a transparent and full view of the technical review process by ICOMOS, in order for the state party to ensure that when ICOMOS receives the final technical reports requested and the related heritage impact assessment, and when all technical requirements and guarantees are considered satisfactory for ICOMOS, the state party can implement the project before the next World Heritage Committee session takes place, if deemed appropriate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam. And now the floor goes to ICOMOS. ICOMOS, the floor is yours. Madam.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. ICOMOS has appreciated the dialogue with the state party during the development of this tunnel project, including through two missions, and that the state party has accepted the technical approaches suggested by ICOMOS. This revised decision sets out clearly what has been agreed and what the state party has said it will deliver for review and for any additional recommendations by ICOMOS before the tunnel project is approved. We therefore support this revised decision. Thank you.
Thank you. So now I invite the committee members to express their comments. The floor is open. Lebanon, Excellency, the floor is yours.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Vu que l'Égypte a suivi à la lettre les dispositions, nous soutenons la proposition de la Tunisie. Merci.
Thank you. Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe has the floor. Excellency.
Thank you, Chairperson. It's very refreshing to see the advisory body, the center, and the state party in agreement. And therefore, we support the revised decision proposed by Tunisia.
Thank you. Ambassador Kuwait has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We welcome the engagement of the state party with the joint technical assistance, as well as the consensus on this. So we support the amendment of Tunisia.
Thank you. Portugal. Excellency, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. In the same sense, we support the new draft decision presented by Tunisia, and we, after having heard ICOMOS, and I must say to our colleague from Zimbabwe, happily, it does happen that the advisory bodies are in agreement with the state parties, even in sometimes very awkward and difficult situations. But to cut a long story short, yes, I do agree with the proposed revision. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador. Azerbaijan. Excellency, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My comments are in the same line with the Zimbabwe and the Portugal. It's a pleasure to see this full agreement between the State Party and the World Heritage Center and advisory bodies. So therefore, we support the change. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm also happy. And Cuba now. Cuba has the floor.
Gracias, señor presidente. Nuestra delegación también se suma a lo expresado por las delegaciones que nos han antecedido y nos parece que es un ejemplo de una buena práctica que debería tenerse en cuenta en lo adelante en este comité, porque al final trabajamos todos por un objetivo común que es la salvaguardia del patrimonio y es uno de los mejores ejemplos para poner en relación cómo podemos llegar de consenso a una decisión que nos convenga a todos. Muchas gracias.
Gracias. Thank you. And now Indonesia. Indonesia has the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Indonesia appreciates the consultation between the advisory body and the state party. The measures that have been carried out, in our opinion, is an outstanding example on how the state party working to ensure the economic development to be in line with the conservation of the property. Therefore, we support the Tunisians' proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Vietnam wishes to get the floor. The floor is yours.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Très bref, nous sommes ravis de cette coopération entre les organes consultatifs et le pays. Et nous appuyons le nouveau projet de décision. Merci.
Merci. Thank you. Burkina Faso. Excellency.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Ma délégation apprécie également la qualité de la collaboration entre l'État parti et ICOMOS, et c'est pourquoi nous voulons appuyer le projet d'amendement proposé par la Tunisie.
Merci. Thank you. So, as I do not see any other... Finland. Finland wishes to get the floor. The floor is yours, Finland.
Thank you, Chair. Also, I would like to support the addition, and this is just so we can add the committee to all the stakeholders that we all are in agreement this time.
Thank you. I see that it is the end of the list of the distinguished members of the committee, so it's time to give the floor to the state party, to Egypt. Excellency, Mr. Ambassador, the floor is yours. Egypt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, allow me to thank, through you, the Polish authorities for hosting our meetings and commend their excellent organization. I wish also to thank you, Mr. Chairman, the committee, the World Heritage Center, and ICOMOS for their valuable support to this very important project presented by Egypt. Mr. Chairman, this last year witnessed an intense cooperation between the State Party, the World Heritage Center, and ICOMOS, and as you could see, we were capable of making miracles. I might wish to add that in relation to Article 9, some positive developments concerning our draft decision, so I'm pleased to inform you and our August Assembly that all illegal activities in the property associated with dumping, waste incineration, and sand extraction have been stopped completely, and illegally dumped fill material is being removed from the site. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Excellency, for this message, so important for all of us. I wonder if Secretariat or ICOMOS wishes to... No. It is really great. So now I invite you to adopt the draft decision 41.7b.78 concerning this property. Mr. Rapporteur, would you kindly inform us about the amendment? The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, we have an amendment proposed by the distinguished delegation of Tunisia. In front of you, we have the proposal draft decision.
We do not have it in front of us.
It's coming.
Just landed.
Just landed. Okay, this is a draft decision of 11 paragraphs. So we have paragraph 1, 2, 3, and 4. They are just as they were proposed before. The distinguished delegate of Tunisia, they are proposing to introduce new paragraph 5, which reads, also notes the recommendation of the Joint World Heritage Center, ICOMOS Advisor Mission, in advance of developing a heritage impact assessment for proposed ring road tunnel. The state party should develop as efficiently as possible 3 technical reports on traffic management, archaeology, and design details, and submit this to the World Heritage Center for review by advisory bodies. So the original paragraph 5 now become paragraph 6, which has been modified. The new one reads, takes note of the submission by the state party of the request technical report on traffic management and design detail, and further notes that the state party is currently working on archaeological remote sensing survey and research of the area potentially impacted by proposed tunnels. And the last of the paragraphs has been deleted. And they introduce new paragraph 7, which reads, requests the state party to submit an EHA for the proposed tunnel scheme based on combined technical reports for subsequently review by advisory bodies. And we have new paragraph 8, which reads, also requests that work for construction of tunnels should only be progressed once all the requested technical reports and the subsequently HIA have been positively evaluated by the advisory bodies and any appropriate mitigation measures and procedure for monitoring has been agreed. The original paragraph 6 now become paragraph 9 with little amendment just to have a consistency of writing. And paragraph 7 become paragraph 10. And we have paragraph 8 now become paragraph 11. And they were not amended. They are not proposed. So this is a proposal, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. So let's go step by step through all those points. So we start with number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Maintain intact. I hope that I can adopt them. Para 5. Adopted as amended. Para 6. Adopted as amended. Para 7. Adopted as amended. Para 8. Adopted as amended. Para 9. Adopted as amended. Para 10. Adopted. Para 11. Adopted. I declare decision 41.7b.78 adopted as amended. And I will therefore invite Mrs. Al-Hassan to read the list of the properties for which the reports are proposed for adoption without discussion. Madam Al-Hassan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The properties are Kasbah of Algiers, Algeria, Tipaza, Algeria, Qalat al-Bahrain, ancient harbor and capital of Dilmun in Bahrain, ancient Thebes and its necropolis, Egypt, Historic Cairo, Egypt. Baptism site, Bethany beyond the Jordan, Al-Mahtas, Jordan. Petra, Jordan. Rasas, Castro Mefa, Jordan. Wadi Kadisha, the Holy Valley, and the Forest of the Cedars of God, Lebanon. Tyre, Lebanon. Ksar Ait Ben Adu, Morocco. Rock art in the High region of Saudi Arabia, Saudi Arabia. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much. If there is no objection from the Committee on those State of Conservation reports, I declare the decisions read out adopted. And I would now like to ask whether an observer delegation would like to express themselves about one of the properties for which we have adopted the decision without discussion. I can hardly recognize. No. So thank you. I do not see any comments at all, which means that we can now proceed to the next region. Madam Al-Hassan, thank you. And now Asia Pacific. We do start with number 88, Silk Road, the routes network of Chang'an, Tianshan corridor, China, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan. I would like to invite Mr. Feng Jing to present the reports on the state of conservation of cultural properties located in the Asia-Pacific region and open for discussion. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dear committee members, where a discussion on the state of conservation of this property was not initially foreseen for the present committee session, developments on site and the looming threats to the property have prompted an early review by the committee. In view of the complexity of the serial transnational property, the World Heritage Center and ICOMOS proposed to open this property for discussion, and this proposal aimed to highlight issues that arise when threats to one component of a serial property put the whole property at risk. And the Secretariat wishes to encourage all states parties, China, Kazakhstan, and Kyrgyzstan, to address the threats in Kazakhstan. The World Heritage Center also had debriefing meetings with representatives of the permanent delegations of China and Kazakhstan on this issue. Details on the main conservation issues identified for the property are summarized in working document 41-7B ad on pages 84 to 88 of the English version and pages 87 to 92 of the French version. Inscribed in 2014 as the first successful nomination of a large-scale international cooperation effort to address selected Silk Road sites to the World Heritage List, the first State of Conservation report for this serial transnational property was presented to the committee in July last year. The main issues surround the component parts located in Kazakhstan, and notably in Tagar archaeological site, where the construction of a large road connecting Birlik, Al-Malik, Kazitoy, Roskolov, and Akbulak was planned across the site, which would destroy yet unexplored archaeological layers. Following the committee's request at last session, the State Party of Kazakhstan invited a joint World Heritage Center ICOMOS reactive monitoring mission to the Kazakh section of the Silk Road. The mission took place from 31st of October to 9th of November 2016 and considered the implementation of the recommendations of the ICOMOS advisory mission and progress achieved with the development of management plans for all component sites in Kazakhstan. In 2016, the committee requested the State Party of Kazakhstan to halt any further road construction as it would run directly across the Tagar component site. However, road construction did not stop until October 2016. Furthermore, recommendations of the March 2016 ICOMOS advisory mission concerning the road construction have not been followed, which suggests that there is a great need to strengthen the management structure of the component site and its links with national agencies, the ministries of Kazakhstan, and other state parties involved in the Silk Road World Heritage Property. The 2016 Reactive Monitoring Mission reviewed the road construction project at the Tagar component site. It recommended that a new road be developed beyond the boundary and buffer zone of the property, that the heavy damage inflicted by the road work on the archaeological site be restored, and that the partially constructed bridge over the Tagar River be dismantled as requested by the committee. The World Heritage Center and the advisory bodies recommend that the committee express its deep concern that the damage has reached the levels that put the site and thereby the overall property under threat, and that it endorses the recommendations of the 2016 mission and emphasizes that new options should be developed for the road beyond the boundary and the component site and its buffer zone. Furthermore, the committee may wish to request that reconstruction work and illegal residential development work at Tagar site be halted, that the bridge be dismantled, and remedy measures be developed urgently to strengthen the overall legal planning and management frameworks of the site and its setting. The 2016 mission further noted that considerable threats to the OUV would arise from high-speed roads passing through the near other component sites in Kazakhstan, part of the territories of the archaeological sites and buffer zones of Akteb and Kulan are already cut off by the Western Europe, Western China highway, and Kialak is under threat from a project to widen the strategic Almaty-Usey Kamer-Gosik road, which would cause significant damage to the site if it is implemented. For Kostov, there is a plan to build a two-lane paved road with parking and other tourist facilities in the buffer zone. And in Kayatas, construction of a new two-lane paved road crossing the site and its buffer zone is progressing at a rapid pace. Overall, significant issues with the legal management and protection systems in Kazakhstan imply that the state of conservation of these sites now represents a potential threat to the integrity of the overall serial transnational property. It is therefore recommended that the committee further express its concern that most of these component sites in Kazakhstan have been impacted in a comparatively short amount of time since inscription, and based on the above, the committee may wish to request the State Party of Kazakhstan, in close consultation with the state parties of China and Kyrgyzstan, to submit to the World Heritage Center by 1st February 2018 a joint updated report on the state of conservation of the property and the implementation of the mission recommendations for examination by the committee at its next session in 2018. with a view to considering if insufficient progress has been made, the possible inscription of the property on the list of World Heritage in danger in 2018. Finally, let me draw the attention of the committee to the fact that inscribing a serial transnational property on the list of World Heritage in danger raises an additional question of policy, since all component parts in all countries, including those satisfactorily managed and protected, are automatically placed on the list of World Heritage in danger, alongside the more problematic components. Dear committee members, the draft decision 41-7B 88 can be found on page 87 of the English version and on page 93 of the French version of the working document. Mr. Chair, ICOMOS will now provide its comment on this property. Let me take this opportunity also to inform you that representatives of the states parties are also present in the room to provide additional information. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Feng Jing, and I'm not surprised that now the floor goes to ICOMOS. ICOMOS, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. ICOMOS is concerned that development threats are apparent in Kazakhstan in more than one component site of the overall Silk Road serial property so soon after inscription. An inscription that was seen as a milestone for bringing together 3 states parties to support the nomination and inscription of the first major corridor of the overall Silk Roads. At the time of inscription, particular attention was given to the international coordination mechanism which is required by the operational guidelines for transnational serial sites. Assurances were provided by all 3 state parties that a working relationship was in place, and indeed a formal agreement between all 3 participating state parties was signed in 2012, and a more detailed agreement in 2014 which provided for a steering group of vice ministers, experts and government officials from each state party. In the light of the threats that have now emerged, there is concern over the effectiveness of this international coordination mechanism. In terms of specific issues, at the time of inscription, a key essential element not in place was management plans for all the 8 component sites in Kazakhstan. The committee requested that these be produced by 2016, according to a timetable proposed by the state party. But this timetable was not achieved, and as of today, these plans are still not in place. The lack of management plans, and thus the lack of effective management, seems to have contributed to decisions being taken on roads. One road was built at the time of inscription, but other roads have been planned and are in the course of development since. Urban development and reconstruction, which are at variance with the principles of conservation and protection that the state party committed to at the time of inscription. Furthermore, the master plans being developed do not appear to relate to the contribution of the component sites to the outstanding universal value of the series. And since the property was inscribed, there have been no heritage impact assessments undertaken of infrastructure or other development proposals. In order to address the potential threats facing this property, the overall serial property, ICOMOS considers that it is essential that urgent action is taken to strengthen management and protection, clarify the boundaries, and develop as soon as possible a more robust planning framework, including the revision of master plans, so that they acknowledge the constraints of the property and also introduce the use of heritage impact assessments for all projects, including those planned before the inscription of the property. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you. It means that at the moment I shall open the floor, encouraging the distinguished delegations to start a discussion. Turkey, the floor is yours.
Thank you. As mentioned in the report, Silk Roads is a transnational serial property consisting of component sites in 3 state parties, yet the 2017 State of Conservation report of the advisory body focuses solely on the 8 component sites in Kazakhstan and mainly highlights slowness in responding to the recommendations of the March 2016 ICOMOS advisory mission to Talgar of the 14th World Heritage Committee and of the November 2017 World Heritage Committee ICOMOS Joint Reactive Monitoring Mission. First of all, we would like to hear the state party's response to this statement of slowness. Because the same report also informs us that construction of a major road passing through the Talgar component is now halted and alternative routes are being sought for. Necessary resources for revising the management plans of the 8 components have been allocated together with funds for cultural heritage and archaeological studies, detailed maps to clarify site boundaries, and tourism potential assessments. Additionally, a revision of the current cultural heritage law is reportedly underway to be finalized in 2018. These actions, in our opinion, demonstrate willingness of the state party to follow the recommendations of this committee and of the advisory body more closely in the near future. As another Silk Road country, Turkey is well aware of the difficulties involved in protecting heritage property in a geography wherein modern communication and settlement networks occasionally overlap with the ancient ones. Additionally, we know that part of the pending conservation problems at Talgar stem from initiatives taken before the inscription of the property on the World Heritage List. On the basis of the already observed progress, Turkey has proposed an amendment draft decision for the State of Conservation report on the Silk Road serial property, and we would like to highlight that in this amendment, all the advisory body recommendations have been kept in essence in an edited format to give space for the expression of ongoing progress. Thank you.
Thank you. Finland. Finland has the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Well, it's not long ago that we inscribed this property on the World Heritage List, and only 3 years later we find it under severe threat from highway construction and urban development, affecting almost all of the components in Kazakhstan. One has to wonder if the planning of all this development really took place during these years, or if something was missed when the site was evaluated to be nominated on the World Heritage List. Since this is a transnational site, it is also affecting the 2 other state parties, and therefore Finland strongly encouraged the state party to develop effective coordination with China and Kyrgyzstan for the management of the overall serial property through the existing agreements and arrangements. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Now it's time for Poland. Poland has the floor. Sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, being in line with what Turkey just said, we would like to recognize this case as an important example presenting the state of conservation issue and its influence on the whole serial property. Poland supports the amendment to the draft decision proposed by Turkey. This is a still new inscription that, in our opinion, needs more time to be able to take the right decisions concerning implementation of recommendation of reactive monitoring mission focus on proper OUV maintenance. The inscription of this property on the World Heritage List in danger after just a few years since entered on the World Heritage List could play more deconstructive than constructive role. I'm afraid, especially when we have to take into account the urgent needs of the local community to have efficient infrastructure. We would like to encourage State Party to maintain strict control over development process and inform the World Heritage Center about significant for OUV investments according to the paragraph 172 of Operation Guideline. We also recognize the necessity of closer cooperation of the state parties forming the Committee on the World Heritage Serial Nomination of the Silk Road. We would like also to ask State Party for additional information. Thank you.
Thank you. The United Republic of Tanzania. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, this is another example where we see a site being put on a danger list. The experience of the United Republic of Tanzania delegation that once a site is put on a World Heritage in danger, it takes some time before we identify the corrective measures. I hope this is the right wording here. It takes also time to prepare the desired state of removal, conservation removal. We also see state parties struggling not to go on that list. According to the operation guidelines 183 to 189, why don't we try and use those procedures in some cases where things are not urgent? That is a question we would want to know. Why don't we try to use the procedure so that we identify the corrective measures, we involve the stakeholders as much as possible before things are bad? Thank you.
Thank you. Croatia wishes to get the floor. The floor is yours.
Well, Croatia agrees in general with the factography put forward by the consulting bodies. We do, anyway, feel the need to add to those proposals general remarks, valid not only for this site and already opened by Turkey. Well, the Silk Road is essentially a route which has lived and needs to live a full life, not being musealized and isolated from needs of everyday life. We do hope that our purpose as decision makers is not to isolate such sites as places of worship, entre guillemets, but to let them live the life as they did when the Silk Road was in its full activity. Those roads along this route didn't go around, but through. Our point is, therefore, that the sites along the route must remain living bodies and not musealized, as it can possibly be understood from the requests of the consulting bodies. This is a conceptual question that we urge to be aborted in the next future by all of the UNESCO bodies. Isolation and musealization of an organic organism is not an issue that we can accept. I hope we all remember the words of the honorable representative of Tunisia a few days ago, saying, if I may paraphrase it, we also need to let the communities develop and not hold them with too strict rules. This concept, of course, allows some possible mistakes in the process, but we think it is much better than strictly implementing the protocols which may lead towards the above-mentioned musealization. We are mostly following the suggestions of consulting bodies, not asking ourselves about this being only one of the possible options. More than mostly following the rules set up by a tremendously huge body, we should more often ask what is best for the monument itself and its use for the community itself. Therefore, we encourage the state party to continue in this direction and repeat the call of other members of the committee to respond immediately on this committee session. Thank you.
Thank you. Jamaica, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Jamaica wishes to recognize this significant transnational property that has been linking multiple civilizations for centuries and facilitating far-reaching exchanges in areas such as trade, religion, cultural practices, and the arts. It is therefore worrying that the OUV of the Silk Road's network is threatened due to a lack of management systems and plans, urban development, housing development, and possible impacts of unplanned tourism. We do, however, note the proposed plans by the state party to positively tackle the current state of conservation and would wish to hear briefly from the state party. Jamaica encourages the state party to update its plans to ensure that there is no further damage to the OUV of the network. We are proposing to support the amended draft decision put forward by Turkey, Poland, Azerbaijan, and Kuwait. Thank you.
Vietnam, the floor is yours.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Notre délégation a écouté attentivement la présentation du Centre du patrimoine mondial et l'avis de l'ICOMOS. Nous trouvons très juste leurs opinions et recommandations. Cela dit, nous notons aussi des actions concrètes entreprises par l'État parti les derniers temps. Le Kazakhstan a quand même suspendu la nouvelle route traversant le site en octobre 2016. Il a alloué des ressources dès cette année pour la préparation des plans de gestion pour les 8 sites et pour l'amélioration du suivi. Les fonds pour les études archéologiques et les études de patrimoine culturel et pour la préparation des cartes détaillées sont prêts. L'État parti du Kazakhstan a informé aussi que la révision de la loi nationale sur la protection et l'utilisation des objets du patrimoine historique et culturel est prévue pour l'année prochaine. Tous ces efforts-là méritent d'être encouragés et nous croyons qu'ils amèneront le pays concerné à répondre positivement aux demandes du comité. Je vous remercie.
Merci, Madame. Now the floor goes to the Republic of Korea. Korea, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think every state party can sympathize with the fact that protecting and conserving a serial property located in several countries is a very challenging and difficult job. We would like to praise the effort of the 3 state parties collectively in coordinating their actions for the protection of this heritage. Domestic circumstances and international cooperation do not always find each other compatible in many matters. However, the integrated management plan suggested at the time of inscription needs to be used as the bottom line in respect of the agreement signed between the state parties. We find the comments of the Secretariat very pertinent, pointing out the difficulties of inscribing transnational sites on the danger list. We think this could be discussed in the overall agenda item 6. Thank you. Item 7, sorry.
Thank you. Now Portugal. Excellency, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. As a general remark, I don't think there's much point in repeating arguments already expressed. If this revision proposed by Turkey, Poland, Azerbaijan and Kuwait goes in the sense of addressing the fundamental issues of integration of the property, then it's fine with us. I have a doubt, which is fruit of my ignorance, but perhaps through you, Mr. President, the Turkish delegation could explain, as they were the ones who proposed the amendment, what's the rationale of keeping Tolga and doing with the other 6 properties? Is it because the state party concerned thinks that there is an adequate protection of these sites and it does not? They do not merit being included at the same level of Tolga. So I would like only some clarification on this, and obviously I look forward to hearing to listening to my colleague from Kazakhstan to further elaborate on the state of the art concerning this property. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador. We will reach finally the state party of Kazakhstan, but now Cuba wishes to get the floor. Cuba, the floor is yours.
Gracias, señor presidente. Nuestra delegación también desea sumarse a las muestras que han dado ya otros estados sobre este buen ejemplo de cooperación entre 3 estados que tienen incidencia en este sitio. Si sabemos que para un solo estado es compleja, hay veces la gestión, coordinar entre 3 estados es mucho más complejo y por eso queremos felicitar las acciones tomadas en este sentido. Yo quería hacer referencia a algo que que planteaba el distinguido representante de Croacia, y es un tema que también para esta delegación constituye una preocupación, es la importancia en que esta convención y sus órganos consultivos deben evolucionar en función de algo que es fundamental hoy en la UNESCO, y es las comunidades. Hoy el patrimonio hay que concebirlo como un patrimonio vivo. Esta es posiblemente la convención que más atrasada está en ese sentido. Cuando vemos hoy otras convenciones de la UNESCO por la actualidad y porque además fueron aprobadas de manera más reciente, esta es una convención que fue aprobada en 1972, cuando el trabajo con el tema de las comunidades no había alcanzado el desarrollo que hoy alcanza para otras convenciones, pero tenemos que ir incorporando este elemento en las evaluaciones de los órganos, en las decisiones de este comité, que ya lo viene haciendo, pero es un elemento en que también me gustaría sumarse a la preocupación que ha expresado el colega de Croacia. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Now, Kuwait has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Kuwait joins the committee members in supporting and proposing the amendments on the draft decision. We are positive that the State Party of Kazakhstan will take the result of the assessment of the reactive monitoring mission seriously and show commitments towards implementing them to protect the integrity of the serial transnational site. We join Turkey and other committee members in calling for the State Party to provide additional remarks.
Thank you. Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan, the floor is yours, Excellency.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Azerbaijan thanks the ICOMOS for their comprehensive report and the conclusions based on the reactive monitoring mission. Although we recognize that there are serious concerns with the site of Talgar in Kazakhstan, but we cannot accept that these serious concerns should be applied to other sites along this Silk Road nomination, the site. At the same time, Azerbaijan welcomes the decision of the government of Kazakhstan to suspend the road project in Talgar, and we call upon the state party to provide alternative ways without impacting the OUV. We also encourage the state party to submit the detailed report on the works on the Talgar. And we also would like to ask the state party, the Kazakhstan, together with China and Kyrgyzstan, to establish this coordinating committee, which will enable us to see how these three countries are coordinating the conservation and protective measures together. And we would like also to join the previous speakers to ask the state party also to comment all those concerns raised by some countries. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Tunisia. Tunisia has the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Nous connaissons tous les problèmes liés aux biens transfrontaliers et en dépit de cela, l'État a fourni pas mal d'efforts qui ont été cités par ma collègue du Vietnam. Je n'ai pas besoin d'y revenir. Cela montre une volonté affichée de vouloir répondre aux recommandations et aux critiques de l'ICOMOS. Je voudrais rejoindre par ailleurs ma collègue qui a proposé de mettre sur pied un comité de coordination pour pouvoir résoudre ces problèmes transfrontaliers. Et au final, je voudrais aussi demander à l'État partie de prendre la parole pour clarifier certains points relevés par l'ICOMOS. Merci.
Merci, thank you. And now Turkey. Turkey has the floor.
In response to the question posed by the ambassador of Portugal, the advisory bodies would also recognize that in the sentence the Excellency refers to, the other places taken out of that point have not been equally impacted so adversely due to the problems mentioned in the advisory body reports. The Talgar component stands in a special condition in this respect. The problems related with the other components, they are included already in the other points of the amendment. So there was, that was the reason for taking out those place names from paragraph 4. Thank you.
Are there any other interventions? Cuba wishes to take the floor. No? I'm sorry. So if so, it's time to give the floor to the state party. Kazakhstan, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Let us respond to the statements of the distinguished representatives of the committee. I would like to draw up a saturated picture of so important and complex Silk Road serial nomination. Almost 10 years, 3 state parties and a group of international experts worked for preparation of the nomination dossier. In 2014, finally, it was inscribed on World Heritage List. Following the inscription, within a really short period of time, many things occurred at one of the component sites in Kazakhstan, namely Talgar. Already in autumn of 2014, we learned about the plans to begin the road construction through the World Heritage component site and initiated immediately the introduction of the moratorium. In March 2016, the ICOMOS advisory mission visited the property upon the invitation of the state party and concluded that the proposed road construction would have a negative and irreversible impact on the component site. During the 40th session of the World Heritage Committee, based on the information of the Ministry of Culture and Sports of Kazakhstan, we reaffirmed the existing moratorium. However, in early October 2016, we were faced with unpredictable launch of the road construction by local authorities. Tremendous state efforts were made to hold the road construction, which reached success only in late October 2016, following the on-site visit by Deputy Prime Minister of Kazakhstan. Reactive monitoring mission took place in November 2016. However, the impressive mission report, over 160 pages, was conveyed to the state party only in late May 2017. We truly appreciate the support given to our country by the World Heritage Center, ICOMOS, and the experts who visited the site during the missions. However, as the report of the reactive monitoring mission has been received recently, we need time to verify the facts and present official clarifications, particularly in respect of other component sites of the property in Kazakhstan. Moreover, the master plans mentioned in the reactive monitoring mission report, from our point of view, reflect the existing problem just partially. The core of the negative process, as it was reported by our National World Heritage Committee to the Parliament of Kazakhstan, is hidden in the lack of effective inner legislation mechanisms. In this respect, Kazakhstan National Commission for UNESCO has initiated preparation and following integration in national legislation system of specific regulations on the World Heritage sites in the Republic of Kazakhstan. This document was already prepared by National World Heritage Committee experts with financial support by UNESCO Almaty Cluster Office and sent to the Ministry of Culture as a government body responsible for the state cultural policy. The Ministry of Culture, in its turn, has started developing new law of protection and use of the heritage sites that officially should be finished and approved by Parliament and President in 2018. Other potential threats are well defined in the Reactive Monitoring Mission report and will be under control by the Ministry of Culture. We'll concentrate as well on the coordination processes between three countries by intensifying our cooperative work through the existing Coordinating Committee on the World Heritage Serial Nomination of the Silk Road and its Secretariat, based at ICOMOS International Conservation Center in Xi'an. To conclude on the issue of protection of the Silk Road properties, I would like to assure you, distinguished delegates of the committee, that our state party will work in close cooperation with World Heritage Center, Ministry of Culture and Sports, to fulfill all recommendations of this and previous committees, as well as recommendations of the advisory body. Thank you.
Thank you. And now the floor goes to another state party, China. China has the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. China is a state party of this transnational property. We noted that the state party of Kazakhstan is taking serious measures to mitigate the impact of the project on the OUV of the property, for which we commend the efforts that have been made. China would like to strengthen the communication with the state party of Kazakhstan within the existing framework of the Intergovernmental Collaboration Committee. And if the state party of Kazakhstan needs our help, we would like to provide our best possible technical assistance, including the development of World Heritage Management plans, establishment of monitoring system, conservation interventions of the sites, and the interpretation and the presentation of the OUVs in order to better protect the shared World Heritage site. Thank you.
Thank you. And now the floor goes to ICOMOS. Mr. Feng Jing would like to have a short intervention.
Very short, yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Very briefly, 2 points of clarification and one just a point to draw the attention of the committee. Regarding the question from distinguished delegate of Turkey, why this reactive monitoring mission was to the Kazakh section of the Silk Road, that was the decision by the committee last year because of the emerging issue of Tagar, and also because of the unfinished management plans for those 8 component sites in this country. Secondly, regarding the late submission of mission report, in life there are always unexpected circumstances, and one of the mission team, because I was leading the mission, one of the mission team members, the ICOMOS expert, was sick, and so for that reason, we already kept the state party informed in early January that the mission report could be late, and in fact the mission report was sent on the 16th of May to the state party, and we were requesting clarification by end of May. The last point is regarding one of the issues indicated in the working document, particularly also one paragraph relating the draft decision. This relating to the boundaries of the component sites in Kazakhstan, because the mission found out there are discrepancies for the boundaries of the component part, which is really a crucial issue in terms of protection and management. For that, I think I would like to draw the attention of the committee. This is really to help enhance the protection and the management, so we need to identify clear boundaries of the property. Thank you. I stop here, and I think ICOMOS will provide further information. Thank you.
Thank you. ICOMOS, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just 2 points. first, we welcome the new initiatives that are being recommended by the State Party of Kazakhstan and the remedial measures that they are proposing to put in place. We do consider that it is not just Talgar that needs remedial measures and new actions, and hope that this fact could be reflected in the draft decision. I would like to just comment on one of the paragraphs in the draft decision, that's paragraph 12, which calls for greater cooperation through the existing coordinated committee of the World Heritage Serial Nomination of the Silk Road. The committee that's referred to here is in fact the wider committee of all state parties that are involved in the Silk Roads project. A more specific committee was actually set up at the time of inscription for the 3 state parties for this particular corridor of the Silk Roads. So it would be more appropriate to recognize the smaller committee of 3 state parties only under this draft decision, point 12. Thank you.
Thank you. The floor goes to Dr. Resler. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. There were 2 general points raised, one by Korea on serial nominations and sites in relation to danger listing. So if there's any decision in this regard you wish to bring up under item 7, this comes up on the 11th of July. I find this a very important point. We had an expert meeting in 2008 on this matter already, the so-called Ettingen meeting, which is online. But since then, we had a great number of very complex serial nominations inscribed, so there is an emerging issue. The other point, very briefly, from Cuba on communities. This is also an extremely important point. There has been a great evolution since 2005 when the chapter on partners in the protection of World Heritage was included in the operational guidelines, and I think the new opportunity is the Sustainable Development Policy, which was adopted by all of you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So I now invite you to adopt the draft decision 421.7b. The United Republic of Tanzania wishes to take the floor. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry for coming back to this issue. I had asked a question. In a situation where we think of putting a property to a world heritage in danger, we are guided by paragraph 183 to 189, in the case it's not an emergency issue, and so as to make sure that we incorporate stakeholders and state parties and all other involved, so that we don't come into situations where we start seeing some different opinions coming in where we want to make a decision. Could we get clarification on that one? Why are we not going with the operational guidelines?
I would like kindly to ask Mr. Fan Jing to respond in short.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Distinguished delegate from Tanzania, thank you for raising the question. In fact, in line with paragraph 183 and 184 of the operational guidelines, the corrective measures need to be put forward for proposing a site on the list of World Heritage in danger. In this case, the obvious case of the Tangar, particularly the road construction at this archaeological site, pose a threat to the integrity and also the OUV of the whole property. So for that reason, at the last paragraph of the draft decision, the World Heritage Center and the advisory bodies propose that if insufficient progress has not been made by the state party in addressing the issue, the site should be put on the list of World Heritage in danger in next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, now it's time to ask Mr. Juma, the rapporteur, about the amendments. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a proposal to amend the draft decision from distinguished delegation of Turkey, Poland, Azerbaijan, and Kuwait. You have in front of you now the proposal decision. In this proposal of 13 paragraph, only 3 paragraphs which has been left as it is, paragraph 1, 2, and 3. And starting paragraph 4, we start to see different proposal.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Yes, good.
So we start with paragraph 4. The proposal was to delete those 4 other sites. They are, I can read the remaining paragraph now. Express its deep concern that the component site of Talgar has been impacted so adversely in comparatively short amount of time since the time of inscription that its state of conservation is now potential threat to the integrity of overall site of transnational property. Paragraph 5 has slightly modification. We go to paragraph 6. The first part of it has been deleted. So the new paragraph reads, request the state party of Kazakhstan to submit to the World Heritage Center by December 2017 a detailed report of construction work at the Talgar component site, both planned and undertaken for review by an advisory body. Paragraph 7 also has been modified by deleting the second part. The new paragraph reads, notes that the Talgar site has been affected by rural residential development in buffer zone and further requests that this be halted and strictly control of this process be assured. Paragraph 8, the first part of it has been also deleted. The new paragraph read also express its concern that local paved roads are planned or under construction at Akiatas and deeply regret that the World Heritage Center was not informed about this project beforehand, which goes against paragraph 172 of Operation Guideline. Paragraph 9 has also been modified. There are some parts in the middle of paragraphs have been taken and new addition to the end. The new paragraph read, further express its deep concern about the adverse impact of urban development on the possession of the site in relation to the Silk Road and their setting, and requests the state party of Kazakhstan to strengthen the legal mechanism to control environmental impact of urban growth over the component site as matter of priority. Paragraph 10 has also been modified. The new paragraph read, request more over the state party of Kazakhstan to ensure that all sites benefit from the highest national protection in their boundaries and buffer zone as it was submitted at the time of inscription. Paragraph 11, there is an addition, reiterates its request that management plan for all 8 component sites of the serial property in Kazakhstan and their landscaping setting be revised, taking into consideration the result of reactive monitoring mission assessment as a matter of priority and submitted to the World Heritage Center by December 2018 at the latest, along with the update on progress by December 2017. Paragraph 12 also has been modified. The new paragraph read, request in addition to the state parties of China, Kyrgyzstan, and Kazakhstan to develop effective coordination for management of overall serial property through the existing coordination committee on the World Heritage serial nomination of the Silk Road and its secretariat based at ICOMOS International Conservation Center, Guyana. Paragraph 13 also modified. The second part of it has been deleted. The new paragraph read, finally requests the state party of Kazakhstan in close consultation with the state party of China, Kyrgyzstan, to submit to the World Heritage Center by February 2018 a joint up-to-date report on the state of conservation of the property and the implementation of the above for the examination by the World Heritage Committee at its 42nd session in 2018. This is what's proposed, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rapporteur. So now it's time to visit the draft decision step by step. Para 1, adopted. Para 2, adopted. Para 3, adopted. Para 4. Adopted as amended. Para 5. Adopted as amended. Para 6. Adopted as amended. Para 7. Adopted as amended. Para 8. Adopted as amended. Para 9. Adopted as amended. Para 10. Portugal, Excellency, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I'll just suggest, and I talked to the Kazakh delegation on this issue, that we retain some of the previous paragraph in the sense that we'd say, requests moreover the state party of Kazakhstan...
Excuse me, the previous, namely number...
Sorry?
The previous paragraph, namely number...
10.
10.
We were at 10, I believe.
Good, thank you. I'm sorry.
So, requests moreover the state party of Kazakhstan to clarify the boundaries of the component sites, and then we delete and we take it up again, and to ensure that all sites benefit from the highest whatever until the end of the paragraph.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are we ready? So, adopted as amended. 11. Adopted as amended. 12. Adopted as amended. 13. Adopted as amended. Which means that I declare decision 41,7b.88 adopted as amended. Now, I would like to ask Mr. Feng Jing to present the next report. It is Katmandu Valley, Nepal, number 95, proposed for inscription on the list of World Heritage in danger. Mr. Feng Jing, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dear committee members, details of the conservation issues identified for the property of Katmandu Valley are summarized in working document 41.7b add 2 on pages 22 to 26 of both language versions. Before the committee, a debrief meeting was held with the ambassador and permanent delegate of Nepal to UNESCO. The committee may recall that it reviewed the state of conservation of the property last year at its 40th session and identified crucial conservation issues resulting from the aftermath of the 2015 earthquakes. It also decided to consider, on the basis of an updated report on the state of conservation of the property and the implementation of the recommendations of the previous reactive monitoring mission, the possible inscription of the property on the list of World Heritage in danger at the present session in the absence of significant progress. The state party submitted on 1st of February this year a state of conservation report which highlights its response following the disaster as indicated in the working document. A joint World Heritage Center, ICOMOS-ICROM reactive monitoring mission visited the property from 20th to 25th March this year. The mission report provides more detailed assessments of the damage to all 7 monument zones and raises a number of important concerns, notably regarding the extent of the work carried out, since badly damaged structures are inadequately supported or protected, and many of their neighboring structures and auxiliary buildings have been demolished. The mission regretted that the work undertaken so far has not been based on the systematic assessment and mapping of the damage, and that no centralized database has been established to list extent and or damage elements. The mission noted that recommendations formulated by the 2016 reactive monitoring mission have not been fully implemented, notably concerning the preparation of recovery master plans for each of the 7 monument zones, of the review and update of the integrated management plan. None of these documents have been submitted to the World Heritage Center for review by the advisory bodies. The mission also noted the significant impact of the demolition of traditional houses affected by the earthquakes and their replacement with concrete framed structures, as soon as can be seen on the PowerPoint. Next slide, please. This points to the worrying fact that threats of the earthquakes, but also from some of the work undertaken during the subsequent recovery process, which is adding to the erosion of the property's integrity and authenticity. While the state party's efforts are doubtlessly laudable, the World Heritage Center and the ICROM consider that the scale and scope of the disaster exceeds by far the capacities and resources of the Nepali Department of Archaeology. The lack of investigation into the ground condition, the absence of a recovery plan, and of a clear understanding of the property's OUV led to uncontrolled reconstructions of poor quality, resulting in considerable loss of significant fabric. Research into traditional building techniques and alterations over time remains inadequate, and many of the contractors appointed are not sufficiently experienced in historical building conservation. In the view of the state party's report and the outcomes of the latest reactive monitoring mission, it is clear that the property is currently facing actual and potential threats to its OUV in accordance with paragraph 179 of the operational guidelines. To safeguard the property, the recovery process needs to be quickened and made more effective. And the World Heritage Center and the advisory bodies suggest that inscribing the property on the list of World Heritage in danger would facilitate a greater input, collaboration, and coordination of support from the international community to adequately safeguard the property. It should be noted that the response to many threats faced by the property should be linked to social and economic development, so that the recovery process can generate wider community benefits. In that regard, the inscription of the property on the list of World Heritage in danger would enable a greater mobilization of the international community and its extensive network of experts and resources, and as a means of assisting the state party in the task of recovering the property and its OUV. I think this topic has been discussed by the committee in the last few days. Finally, it should also be noted that the preliminary work has already been done with the state party to discuss the technical, planning, legal, and management measures that are necessary to recover the attributes of the OUV. These could be could also contribute to the proposal of the state party for the desired state of conservation for the removal of the property from the list of World Heritage in danger. Mr. Chair, dear committee members, the draft decision 41 COM 7B 95 can be found in working document on page 25 of both language versions. With your permission, Mr. Chair, ICOMOS will now provide comments on this property. Thank you.
Thank you. ICOMOS has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Since the earthquake in 2015, there have been 2 reactive monitoring missions. The first assessed the overall impact of the earthquake and discussed initial post-disaster approaches with the state party. The second mission in March this year was requested to undertake a much more detailed assessment of the destruction wrought by the earthquake in all of the 7 monument zones of the property, to consider the recovery work that has been undertaken since 2015, and to discuss how the overall recovery work is being organized and the capacity and organization of resources. The outcomes of the mission are clear. Comparatively little recovery work has been undertaken, and many structures remain inadequately protected. Some of the work done has not been supported by systematic assessment of damage or analysis of traditional methods of construction, and much restoration is unfortunately of poor quality, as the contractors appointed are simply lacking in appropriate experience. Furthermore, little progress has been made to address the urgent issues of housing for local communities. Although the state party is strongly committed to addressing the severe and extensive impacts of the earthquake, the scale and scope of the destruction is such that the responses need to be at a much higher level and with greater capacity and resources that are currently available to it. Without a more strategic and coordinated response, and one that is adequately underpinned by documentation and assessment, there's a real danger that the restoration and rebuilding work will erode rather than strengthen the attributes of outstanding universal value, which, given the very high profile of this property and the way the world is watching, would be unfortunate, to say the least. In order to try and lever in much greater input as well as collaboration and support from the international community, and to shift the recovery operations to a higher and more effective level that can address not only the monuments but the needs and requirements of local communities, ICOMOS is supporting the recommendation to include this property in the World Heritage List in danger. Not because we think the state party is not doing its utmost, but as a means of assisting the state party to develop a strategic and coordinated response supported by adequate advice and support. We all need the recovery of Katmandu to deliver an outcome that supports outstanding universal value and reinvigorates the city for its inhabitants. Although there has been some involvement of ICOMOS through one of its technical committees, we will be ready and willing to offer more formal support to the state party. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And now I invite the committee members to express their comments on this very issue. Turkey, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Turkey very much appreciates the efforts and commitment of the Nepali authorities in the way for recovery of the property after the catastrophic earthquake occurred in 2015. We believe the claimed delay in fulfillment of the committee decisions and reaching a desired state of improvement is not much related to the state's parties refraining from doing so, but the amount of work and the capacities that requires time. After looking carefully into the relevant documents, we are somewhat confused by the divergence between the state party's report and the mission report of 2017 on the aspects of recovery master plan, coordination among the stakeholders, systematic assessment and mapping of damage, and state parties' efforts to ensure the quality of conservation works. the state party can be given the opportunity to make its remarks on this matter. The works are carried out in line with the 6-year recovery master plan, which has already been delivered to the Secretariat, and this plan, like any other policy plan, can be subject to further revision upon any further need or change in the situation. Considering the concerns about the low quality of the recovery works, which are also claimed to be adding more damage to the integrity and the authenticity of the property, the state party also gives assurances on the quality of the recovery works, both in terms of material and the techniques. Any decision for inscription of the property on the danger list would be tantamount to undermining the efforts and capacity of the state party. We believe that the Nepali government has the capacity of doing its best with further international support. We would also like to underline the danger listing could only contribute to the recovery works and safeguarding of the property as long as the international community puts its generous support to the Nepali authorities, but it is not the only option to gain international support. We are therefore of the view that the draft decision is not acknowledging in the way it should the efforts of the state party and should be reformulated in order to give the state party more time to implement their plans before taking any decision for danger listing. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Lebanon. Lebanon has the floor.
Oui, merci, Monsieur le Président. Les images que nous avons vues sur Katmandu cette année, l'année d'avant, et puis encore à Bonn, nous rappellent malheureusement les images que nous avons vues hier et avant-hier sur Damas, Alep, les villes syriennes, les villes du Yémen, etc. Dans un cas, c'est la folie des hommes, dans l'autre cas, c'est le déchaînement de la nature. Personne n'est responsable. Il ne s'agit pas de dire que le gouvernement syrien, le gouvernement népalien, le gouvernement du Népal, le problème n'est pas là. C'est un problème de déchaînement de violence. Ce n'est pas les spécialistes de la réhabilitation, ce n'est pas les spécialistes des antiquités, ce n'est pas un problème dû à des projets de développement, ce n'est pas des décisions, ce sont réellement des phénomènes graves. D'un côté, une violence politique due aux hommes et de l'autre côté, une violence de la nature. Bon. Dans ce cas-là, je ne comprends vraiment pas les hésitations à dire de ne pas inscrire ce site ou ces sites sur la liste en péril. Donner du temps, oui, lorsque un gouvernement a fait par exemple un projet de développement qui met en danger un site et qu'on lui donne du temps pour réviser ce projet. Mais dans ce cas-là, ce n'est pas les gouvernements qui sont responsables. Dans ce cas-là, c'est la nature ou la violence des hommes qui sont responsables. Donner du temps à quoi et à qui? Visiblement, les effets des destructions sont beaucoup plus grands que les capacités des gouvernements locaux de pouvoir le faire et de pouvoir réagir. Et ça, ce n'est pas seulement dans le cas du Népal ou de la Syrie, ça peut arriver partout, partout. On a besoin réellement d'une mobilisation internationale. Lorsque Venise, en 1964, a été envahie par les eaux, il a fallu faire une mobilisation internationale. Ce n'est pas honteux de dire qu'il faut mobiliser une